area that I looked at is I spoke to outside services and looked at outside contracting it out. The residents' trash fee will double, and you're going to get the less. They don't want anything to do with recycling, so that's not an option as well. So my recommendation, and I am not in support of reducing 2-day to 1-day trash collection at this time.
Larry, one thing I'd like to see done at some point, which I think could save some money out of the trash stream, is, and I don't know how it's possible, but you have the yard waste day as Wednesday. What happens is everybody does their yard work on the weekend, and they put the bags out Monday, and our guys are taking them because they're out. I mean, it's not their fault they're out, but I think we still get a lot of the yard waste in the trash stream because people have it out Monday because they do their yard work on the weekend. And that's something a lot of my constituents have asked me, why don't you pick up the yard waste township-wide on Monday? Because, but I know it wouldn't work out because then you got, the Monday, Thursday, and the Tuesday, Friday now gets all screwed up. I mean, it's too close together.
Can it be done? It certainly can. Anything can be done. Let me start by saying, Mr. Holman, anything can be done.
You can call me Jeff, by the way.
Okay.
It's, yeah.
The problem is that you literally have years of, you're going to change the whole thing.
You got to retrain everybody. I know, but it just kind of, in a way, it makes sense,
The fix is continuing, and I'm going to be doing another, the 1st of January, another single stream education. I'm going to be doing flyers, getting people getting back into the single stream to get more out of the trash stream. But the real fix is that our personnel do not, they have to get into the, and it's again, myself, Mr. Doherty, that when people put the yard waste out, it sits there.
But
Yard
that's
waste
what they
is a
should do.
Wednesday.
They should make it.
It has to
make
stay
it
there.
Yeah.
And we don't pick it up.
If
And
it's in the brown
other
bags, we
towns
should
don't.
leave it.
You don't pick it up. And you're going to get the people because there's still a large number of people who still don't participate
Recycle.
in the recycling.
Oh, I know that.
And
Yeah.
it's a township ordinance. So we're going to 2014 we're going to take a more hard stance in getting people to participate in it. Our neighboring communities are already going out, started to do warnings. We're going to follow suit because it's the right thing to do. It's everybody's responsibility.
You absolutely can tell. I mean, you see some people just have a trash can out and no recycling, and I see a lot of that. So I know there's a lot of people not recycling, but like I said, if we could start leaving the brown bags there on Monday, I mean, I know people get upset, and we'll probably all get calls saying, oh, they didn't take all my trash. But the bottom line is, I mean, they do all the work to get the yard waste in the brown bags. They put it out. Our guys rightfully throw it in the truck, but it should just be left there.
Correct.
And as it's...
Yeah, but you got to understand this is a two-way street because what's going to happen is we get, I would say, 99% of the calls that Public Works Department will get, and then the 9 of the elected officials here will get is my trash wasn't picked up, my recycling was thrown in the trash, or something. 99% of them, when we are investigated, the residents are not complying with the regulations. And literally almost 99.9% of the time, it's not the personnel, it's the resident who's not putting that trash out properly or is not putting the recycling out properly. We continually, just last week, had 3 major complaints that the trash department came, pick up my recycling and threw it in the trash because the resident was putting their recycling in a normal
regular
trash
trash
can,
can.
and it's not marked. Well, you can't expect these guys who are going out picking up 19,000 tons of trash to be looking at every can. We don't have the time to do that. And so what we do is we go in, we either drop them off stickers, and one resident actually said, "I don't want that can."
I know who that resident was.
So you know that.
I know who that resident was.
Okay, but do the type of thing. So, does anyone of the board have any particular questions on the revenue expenses?
No, we can find them. No, we can find them, can't
Do
we?
we have the ability to find them? Or are we-
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. What, I don't specifically say Marple Township, our neighbor, because we have worked so closely with them. One of the things I failed to mention with Marple, and I know I'm kind of going off, but I have to. we're sharing equipment, we're sharing resources wherever possible. They have equipment that we don't have, they bring it on. We have equipment that they don't have, they'll take it. So there are great things. Just recently, because of the new vehicle maintenance facility, we had to dig a trench that was being contracted out that would have been $7,000. Not a lot of money, but $7,000. Marple Township came in, instead of us contracting it out to bidding it out to a contractor, Marple came in because they had the equipment to do it with their own personnel and came and did it for us in 2 days and saved the township funds.
Great.
I'm telling you, they're a great community. They've taken initiative to start with their codes department going out and giving warning notices. And then the second would be a second warning, and then the third is an actual violation. And we're not far off.
Do you have a fee that is,
I don't know
if
what the
someone asked,
Yeah, I
that
mean, we gotta
we
make
could
sure
tell
we
them?
have something there set.
I'm sure
I
Lori would like that.
believe we actually have.
Fee.
Fee if you're not recycling.
Yeah, a fine number.
It's easy to create a fee, but I think they're.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if,
Well, it's
if we're
easy,
going to
it's
really
not
try
easy.
to.
I mean, we're
Yeah.
talking about a fine, you're then getting into our criminal code, and then we have to figure out who can enforce this.
Right.
I don't believe that our public works employees will be empowered under the law to issue fines or citations to people, I mean, unless we change the law to allow
Right.
them to do that. It's a slightly complicated process getting into the supervision and enforcement and ultimate penalizing in it. So it's not something to just say, we'll start finding them tomorrow. I mean, it's
Yeah,
a little
but
more
other
complicated.
communities are doing this. I'm sure we could figure out how they're doing it.
Yeah,
Right.
And,
Yeah.
Something we should think about.
yeah, definitely.
absolutely.
All right, any other questions?
Well, Mr. President, what I was going to suggest, we've got, I guess, 2 weeks from tonight is our work session, right? All of our conversations, where we're going to address different things in this budget are conversations that we should have publicly, and we should probably understand that work session is probably going to be devoted to dealing with individual questions or adjustments or things like that people want to make in the budget. There are a couple topics I would like to mention now, not for discussion, but just to give you a heads up that they are topics I would like to discuss at that work session. We did, obviously, there's an increase in the trash fee. That's one of the things we have to approve tonight preliminarily. I will support all of the ordinances tonight, but I will, of course, address with the board in 2 weeks the issue of whether the increase in trash fees disproportionately hurt folks in my ward and I think Mr. Oliva's ward.
And Mr. McGarity also.
What's that?
Mr. McGarity also.
And Mr. McGarrity's ward. And so those are things that I'd like us to be prepared to discuss in 2 weeks. But as far as and I'll remind the public, our function tonight is to examine the preliminary budget as provided by the township finance director and township manager, but it is not a final budget. The final budget takes place after we deliberate and approve a final budget that gets presented to us 3 weeks from tonight, I guess December the 9th. So I don't know whether anybody else wants to raise those issues. The two issues that I just kind of warn everybody I'd like to talk about in 2 weeks would be the increase to the trash fee, as well as I'd like to continue to beat the dead horse of seeing whether or not we could do something about leaf collection each year and the incredible amount of resources of the township that 12-week exercise consumes. But other than that, I have no comments with regard to the preliminary budget tonight and am prepared to recommend that we as a board adopt it.
Okay, well, what we'll do is, everybody can look at their budgets, put together questions, anything that they have to say, and then we'll answer those questions at the work session. Discuss it at the work session. We'll dedicate that work session.
I apologize, I won't be here to the work session, so if at all possible, can we discuss this at the, Lori's going to be sitting in for me on the work session, I'll be in Harrisburg.
Well, we certainly can save time to discuss
Yeah.
these on the 9th as well. I'm just saying the 2nd is a good time, and of course,
Yeah,
your
I just don't want to put
faithful
Lori in a bad
assistant,
position.
Ms. Cuthbertson will be here to
You're
handle
already
everything.
dipping
on
out
the
there.
thing, so
Okay.
she'll be trying out for township manager that night.
Amy will be here to answer.
Go ahead and hand it over to her.
She
Larry.
quit. I'm joking.
Amy will be here to answer any financial questions that we have on the 2nd.
But yeah, right, obviously, we can't act on the 2nd of December anyway. It is only a work session, but it's a session where certainly all of us commissioners may come to a landing. I mean, it may very well be that when the work session is over on the 2nd, we may all realize there's nothing to change in this budget, in which case your absence, while keenly felt, will not affect what we do as a board.
And
So-
we may all realize that you're actually right about all that. No, probably not.
You know, and if I could just, because I don't know if I answered Mr.
Puppies and
Bogosian's
kittens will live together and everything will be
It may
great.
have not been clear, but in my executive summary to everyone here, I had it in there. So this budget
Crazy
presentation that
stuff.
you're looking at this evening calls for a 4.89% tax increase. If it wasn't for the reduction in the FTEs and the other costs, it would have been well over 7%. So 4.89
Okay.
as it stands.
Right, to a millage rate of 7.334.
Right.
Is what the increase amounts to in terms of the tax bills. We have a median assessment of $145,000 per home in this township, and that equates to approximately $50 per year. As a median number, half the township will pay $50 or less, half the township homes will pay $50 or more.
Okay. I'm sorry, Bill, what was your,
Oh, no, I was just going
You-
to get on with the next motion.
okay.
If we're done with the
Let's,
discussion.
I just wanted
let,
to,
go ahead.
What numbers are
wanted
on?
to add to that discussion that
45 doesn't not wrong.
I wanted to bring up the issues that the township has had for many years, especially in the 8th ward, I know they're in other wards too, is stormwater runoff. I think that part of that infrastructure absolutely has to be addressed. We've tried several years going to the state and federal, and unfortunately, we haven't had any assistance from them. I shouldn't say we've had very little assistance. However, we, as a township, also have to address that. So I'd like the discussions to open up for that as well.
Okay.
And I sincerely apologize. There was one note that I did have that I think it's important, and some of the commissioners may have not noticed it, but on a couple of departments, specifically the EMS and the police department, and even in codes, there was an impact. You'll see that they're operating this year as a negative variance. Has to do significantly with the U.S. Open, and you will see that's reflected back into the revenues. So in actuality, there's not a negative variance. So for example, if you look at EMS, you'll see there's a variance of roughly $218,000. 200,000 of that was back in revenue. So in reality, it's like an $15,000 variance, not a $215,000. Same thing in the police department, as well as codes. Those departments had a significant impact in providing services.
Professional services.
Professional services.
And all of our,
do we
all of
ever-
our services, we've received those monies back from Marion.
With the exception of about $15,000 in paramedics. Some of the equipment, the USGA would not reimburse the paramedics for because it was equipment that could specifically be used in future programs. So it was an understanding that myself and the representatives from the USGA had. I knew all along that about $15,000 was going to be, I would eat that cost because it was equipment that would stay in the paramedic department, such as additional uniforms for the bike units, equipment for the bikes. The USGA couldn't take that and move it to a different state, so it stayed within my department. So that's the only.
Now, okay, so we've received all but the 15. Have we received the final payments for the merchandising and all that?
No,
Or-
they technically have until April 15th, 2014, just like every
Okay.
other business does.
So we
And
could
that'll
still
be-
see more money. Do we have any idea what?
We don't, I
number
don't
we're
know
looking
how, I don't know how accurate the estimate they paid us was. They paid
Okay.
us an estimate of about 13,000. If the
Just-
estimate's done right, then
Right.
everything's paid in full, but more likely than not,
Right, because they,
More money.
they had a record.
Highest
Yeah,
revenue,
it was the highest.
merchandising revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would think that
their
it's a lot more than
return shows,
13.
they'll be subject to
Right.
audit, just like all of our businesses.
Okay.
so.
All right. Okay. So I guess we call the roll on number 3.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Mrs. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
Mr. McGarity,
Yes.
Mr. Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Mr. Heilman,
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes. Number 4,
Mr. President.
Commissioner Holmes.
Mr. President, I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance number P30-2013, fixing the annual sewer rental or charge for each property connected to the sewer in the amount of $4.50 per 1,000 gallons of water consumed.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Mr. President, that sewer rental charge reflects no change from the previous sewer rental charges of at least all the years I've been on this board, so I certainly recommend we adopt it.
Okay.
Why is that, though? Aren't we paying more to the,
We are, but the amount of sewer construction projects that have been charged to the sewer fund has gone down the past few years, so we haven't had to put out construction costs.
good?
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Siegel,
Yes.
Mr. Holmes,
Yes.
McGarity,
Yes.
Mr. Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Wexler,
Yes.
Mr. Heilman,
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Yes.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Holmes.
Mr. President, I move we adopt the first reading of ordinance number P-31-2013, fixing the Township of Haverford trash fee at $194 per year.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Mr. President, I would repeat what I said earlier.
Jeff.
The ordinance P-31-2013 is preliminarily fixes the Township of Haverford trash fee at $194 per year. It is still subject to the review and discussion by this board. And so due to its preliminary nature, I support the ordinance and recommend my co-commissioners adopt it.
Okay. And I'm sorry, that is a increase of what?
$9.
$9 from $185 per year to $194 per year. It reflects, I believe the goal was to try to bring the fee for the trash a little closer to approximating what the actual trash fee is. A number of townships around us that pay trash fees, that charge trash fees to their constituents, charge much more than $194. I believe it's over $300 in Lower Merion. I've heard of other ones in the 200s. I believe we're trying, Larry, correct me if I have this wrong, to be with 80 or 85% of the actual costs attributable to trash collection. I don't know how particular we can be to that, but I can assure all the constituents that whether it's 185 or 194, it is still less than the actual cost of picking up the trash in Haverford Township.
Yeah, can I make a
Yeah, sure.
comment on
Go
that? Yes, and some of the other towns, you'll see, not all the local towns have start putting out their tax increases yet. Some of them are going to be coming out in the next week or two, but I know some neighboring communities are going to be more than Haverford. But the biggest impact, I think it's important to remember and remind the residents that we never, all the towns in Delaware County never paid the trash disposal fee.
Yes.
And a couple of years ago, we were impacted, and that was a $900,000 new fee that impacted Haverford Township. And by doing the single stream and by implementing the yard waste program, that's dropped off on over $400,000+. So it's been extremely beneficial. So
Yeah,
even
that
though-
increase to our fees was so the county could
We
brag
have to
about
give
not
kudos to
increasing
our
the county
residents.
taxes that year. They
Sleight of
just
hand,
dumped
yeah.
it on all the townships.
Seriously, we have to give kudos to our residents
They didn't
because
raise it.
Kind of like Obamacare wasn't going to raise taxes on anybody,
the
but it
amount
has
of-
here.
You
So we
yourself,
can go-
you
we can
yourself
go that
have
way.
blamed the county for this before, Mr.
Excuse me,
Heilman.
there
I
has
certainly
been
am not
an
saying it.
increase in recycling since we've gone to single stream.
Well, unfortunately, the last year's been depressing numbers.
Yeah.
Yes, it's grown. Now it's dropping off. We actually saw about a 5% drop off in recycling over the last 7-8 months.
It's got to be a first.
We're doing. I'm working with Mr. Denny to help me with some of the thought process that I had. Was working with the local schools to have the schools produce a very inexpensive short video that we can mail to every household. Are the residents going to watch it? Probably not. but something that we got to get the word out. There's no excuse for residents in this community not to recycle. It's just too simple. Everything goes in one can. When we pick it up
And
at
it does-
the curb.
it does lower your
and
taxes.
It does lower your
That's how they can
taxes.
Impact,
Yep.
they can
The,
lower their taxes by.
Reduces the
Yeah.
amount that go
Yeah.
up.
Yeah,
Right.
the
Right.
yard waste
Be
fee,
honest.
Yeah,
the implementation of the Wednesday yard waste.
it lowers it.
Mr. Sinibaldi did phenomenal work a couple of years ago, went out and researched the company who actually, we pick it up. It doesn't go in our yard waste. We bring it down to our yard and the company comes and picks it up for free. That took almost $200,000 out of the, our trash fee as well. So, again, we got great staff constantly looking outside the box, for those type of, initiatives.
All right. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. And I
Mr.
will
President.
Entertain a motion for adjournment.
Before we do, may I just publicly thank Ms. Cuthbertson and Mr. Gentili, all the department heads and everybody associated with the presentation of this budget. Each year I am more and more impressed with the professionalism exhibited by our staff, and I think this year in particular, this was a very informative, extremely thorough presentation, and something that benefits the township greatly. So thank you both on behalf of this board, and please extend our thanks to everyone who assisted you in the preparation of this impressive work. Thank you.
We all second that.
Yep, definitely.
Thank you.
Great work.
Is that a motion?
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.